Welcome to Michael Potts F1, everything Formula One, but from a photographer's point of view. Recently, I was asked to put together my 10 best photographs of the 2022 Formula One season for Racing News 365. There's a link to the article in the description below. It was a really interesting exercise. I'd taken well over 300,000 photographs during the course of the season. To find my 10 best, that was a real challenge. In today's vlog, I would like to share with you those 10 photographs. And as a bonus, I've included 5 extra. So without further ado, let's start in Bahrain. Now, cast your mind back to the start of the season. The first race was in Bahrain. We had winter testing in Barcelona, and then a lot of the teams, including Red Bull and Mercedes, unveiled quite radical designs in the second test in Bahrain. During the testing, Mercedes hadn't performed very well, but everyone thought that the car was hiding some hidden pace, that they had developed some amazing machine that was going to dominate the series. It just looked so different from everything else that was coming out of all the other garages. It was a radical car with size 0 side pods. I took this photograph during one of the practice sessions, and I managed to get really close to the car, and I just love the way it's pulling away from the camera, and you can see the radical side pods on the side of the car, the sunlight's coming through. It also has Lewis Hamilton's new colorway, the kind of fluorescent yellow that he was going to use for most of the season. That was a new color for him that we hadn't seen in the past. But it wasn't Mercedes or Red Bull that won the race in Bahrain. It was Ferrari. And Ferrari were my pick for excelling this year because they weren't involved in the championship fight of 2021. They had more time to dedicate to the new car. And I really thought that they were going to be a force to be reckoned with. And seeing Charles win that first race was phenomenal. It was huge for Ferrari because Ferrari hadn't won a race since Singapore 2019. And they'd spent 2 years at the back of the grid. They put in a lot of hard work to get back to winning a race. And that celebration, that passion that Charles shows was so beautiful to watch. Jumping ahead to Monaco to a shot of Max Verstappen taken through the barriers. This is one that I've shared a couple of times already. It's one I really like. At this point, he's getting closer to the barrier than most of the other cars. I was very lucky to be able to get this shot of his car that close to my camera from that angle. And I really love the way you can see the detailing in the tires, but as well as the detailing, the lettering around the car. It's a shot that I really like, and I'm definitely going to be trying to recreate it again next year. It was a bit of a damage limitation exercise for Max. Due to a crash in qualifying, he wasn't on the front row, and in Monaco, position is everything. But somehow he managed to finish ahead of his main championship rival, Charles Leclerc. And this was one of the races that was a bit of a body blow for Ferrari. The race was eventually won by Sergio Perez, and Ferrari protested the result. And this went on for hours and hours. And the one shot that I was really hoping to capture was the Red Bull celebration. So in the harbour in Monaco, Red Bull make this giant energy station, this giant floating luxury houseboat. It's huge. It has a swimming pool. It has multiple levels. And one of the traditions is that the winning driver, if they're a Red Bull driver, will jump into the swimming pool to celebrate with their team. We were sitting around waiting and waiting. The sun was going down, the light was fading. Eventually, Perez comes out with the rest of his team and he somersaults into the pool. And after that, all hell broke loose. He started grabbing people, throwing them into the pool, and I captured the moment where he looked straight at me and I was petrified that he was going to pick me next. Luckily, he saw his trainer next to me and went for him instead. But that scary moment wasn't anywhere near as scary as watching Guan Yu Zhou's massive crash in Silverstone. Every time I go over these photographs to edit them for a story or something like that, I can't help but think how lucky I was that I decided not to stand behind the main barrier and instead stand to the side. Not only did I get great shots, but I also managed to live to tell the tale. This particular image of the sparks around his helmet while he's upside down, I think is probably one of the most dramatic from the sequence. From this shot, you can appreciate how vital the halo was in saving his life. But we had quite a lot of crashes and quite a lot of airborne moments. And in Belgium, it was Lewis Hamilton's turn. Here, the 7-time world champion squeezed Fernando Alonso going into the corner at Le Combe. As he squeezed him, the back wheel catapults Lewis into the air. And it was an amazing moment seeing this Formula One car completely airborne. Spa is one of the most picturesque Formula One tracks, and it's fantastic that it's still on the calendar next year. There's so many great opportunities to capture car and hills and forests and fans, but by far the most iconic corners are those going from Eau Rouge to Raidillon. And here I managed to capture Daniel Ricciardo at a slow shutter speed. It's a fifth of a second. The car is nice and crisp, but the background painted lines are blurring beautifully, giving that real sense of speed and pace. But this race will always be remembered as the race that Max Verstappen defied the odds. He started in 14th place and ended up winning. And not just winning by a very, very long way. It wasn't even half distance and he was already in the lead. It was a phenomenal drive. He just looked so much faster than every other driver the whole weekend. Spa is a complicated track. It's one where different setups reward you in different parts of the circuit. But Max seemed to rubbish all of that, and he was just fast in every part of the track. I really think that when we look back at his career, that this is going to be one of those highlight moments, one that they look back and go, you know, this is a moment that shows him apart from the rest of the field. This was the start of a phenomenal run. He would go on to win 7 of the next 9 races, including this one in Zandvoort. This comes from the corner Hugenholzbosch, and it's the banking section around turn 3. It's incredibly steep. Max has just gone through that complex. There's no one behind him. He's built up so much of a lead that his next competitor isn't even in frame. The next race in the calendar was Monza. That was a very special race for Ferrari. It was celebrating their 75th anniversary. The team arrived with a special livery, paying homage to the Ferraris of the past, and the team changed their outfits to Ferrari yellow. This is a shot of Charles celebrating pole position. Throughout the year, Ferrari had been phenomenal in a single lap pace, and this track was no exception. Charles had his hand raised up in acknowledgement to the crowd, and it's just a very, very beautiful, quite moving photograph. Monza was also the weekend that we found out that Queen Elizabeth II of England had passed away, and many of the teams ran memorial messages on their car. This is a photograph of Pierre Gasly in the pits, and you can see the Elizabeth II Regina cipher displayed on his halo. There are very moving tributes paid to her throughout the race weekend, from moments of silence before the start of practice to moments of silence on the grid, and many personal messages from the teams. It was amazing to see Formula One coming together to recognise one of the longest serving monarchs in the world. This is a photograph of an absolutely exhausted Sergio Perez. It's taken after the Singapore Grand Prix. He's just raced for 2 hours in sweltering humidity. He's climbed out of his car, celebrated with the team, and then just went and sat down. The drivers will lose several kilograms of body weight during this race. It's a phenomenal physical test. The next shot is Max celebrating his victory in Austin, Texas. I was very lucky. I was staying next to Kelly Piquet, his girlfriend, and when he came over and celebrated with her, I was just in the right place and the right time to capture this beautiful moment. Red Bull as a team won the Constructors' Championship in Austin. Max had won the Drivers' Championship the previous weekend in quite bizarre circumstances at the Japanese race. It was lovely to see the team wearing their championship-winning t-shirts, the American Stetsons, and celebrating and spraying Red Bull and champagne everywhere. It was a beautiful shot, a beautiful moment. And finally, the last shot is of the celebrations at the end of the race in Abu Dhabi. Tradition is that drivers celebrate by doing donuts on the start-finish straight. And here's a shot through the mist into the heart of Perez's donut. You can see the smoke coming off his tyres. I really like it as an image because it's quite an unusual moment. You don't really get to see this very often. It's lovely to see the drivers celebrating after such a long season. So there you go. There are a few of my favourite photographs from the 2022 season. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. If you'd like to buy any of these, there's a link in the description below to my shop where you can buy these as well as many others and have them printed, delivered to your house as paper prints, canvas, wall art, metal prints, you name it. Coffee mugs, knock yourselves out. I've also included a 10% discount, so hopefully it'll make purchasing even more enjoyable. Until the next one, thank you so much for watching and goodbye.